Lender. It is always a pleasure to be joined by the Secretary of Agriculture, Andy Gipson. He is part of the late night, early morning crew. Was in Oxford last night for the Turning Point USA event. You and I were talking a little bit about that during the break. What a cool night!
It was an amazing night and a great testament to the class and the goodwill of the people of Mississippi. As I stood there and we listened to Erica's remarks, I mean, it was just a profound moment. But the equally profound to me was the whole crowd standing up, the entirety, the duration of her remarks, and didn't even think about sitting down. And that says a lot about the good people of Mississippi, and I'm honored to represent our people.
You are someone who, this is not new for you. You have been very open about talking about your faith and the role it plays in your life, and you don't seem to care what the stage is or where the microphone is. You're just going to talk about that.
Right.
I feel like in the last couple of years, the last few years, and I think Charlie Kirk plays a role in this, but I think there are a lot of others that play a role in this. There seems to be more of a willingness among elected Republican/conservative officials to talk about their faith in a very public setting. That strikes me as a win for Christianity. I don't know that anybody has given a more succinct and comprehensive summary of the gospel than Marco Rubio did at Charlie Kirk's memorial service. That's the sitting Secretary of State.
Yep.
Why has that happened?
I think it's because people have tried the alternative, and that is to try to say this so-called separation of church and state, which was designed for the protection of the churches and the freedom to worship, not to keep our faith out of politics, out of the government. It was designed to protect our faith from the government, and people have tried the alternative and found it to be totally empty. And so as I travel the state, no, I've never walked away, have never backed down from speaking out on what I believe, because it is fundamental to who I am as a person. My faith in Jesus Christ as a Christian. Was born again at 7 years of age and have been growing in that relationship with the Lord ever since. And second, to no other relationship that I have than my wife Leslie and I. We share that faith, and so it's critical to the heartbeat not only of who we are as a people. It's ingrained in our Constitution, the freedom of worship, and it's also ingrained in who we are as Mississippians. And when I travel the state, people appreciate that, and I want to appreciate and thank both Erica Kirk and our Vice President, J.D. Vance, for speaking out honestly what they believe, why they believe it. We need more of that in America, and we need more of it right here in the great state of Mississippi.
And it does seem to be happening more. I had a conversation with someone not too terribly long ago, a lobbyist in Washington, D.C., and I think you're starting to see a little bit more of this conversation. We've talked so much about tariff revenue.
Yeah.
And we know that the agriculture community has been hit hard by this tariff exercise that we have gone through as a country. And there is some discussion that some of the revenue collected through tariffs may actually end up being redistributed to farmers in the form of aid. Now, there's some that would say you kind of created a middleman that didn't have to be there. But there are others that have said, this is more about fixing our place kind of within the global economy and within trade and creating fair deals. What are you hearing about whether or not that tariff revenue may end up in the pockets of farmers?
Well, it is a true statement that farmers really don't want aid, they want trade. And so the breaking news this morning out of South Korea is that President Trump has secured a trade deal with China. I'm going to be talking about that immediately in my remarks this morning. And that the outlining of that deal for a purchasing of a substantial, considerable amount of soybeans and other agricultural products. So,
well, amen to that. I mean, we're giving amens. There's one for you.
That being said, we are in a farm crisis. If you recall, last year, a year ago, I stood here and said America is heading into a farm crisis, and now everybody knows that's the case. It didn't happen, though, when President Trump became president. It's happened over the course of 4 or 5 years. I'm going to show a slide today that shows you when China began to cut American agriculture off. And so what we have to do is win this trade war. There is going to be a relief package. I met with our senator, my predecessor, former commissioner, Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, and she's working hard on that with the senators and Congress and with the president. So I have no doubt there'll be a bridge to get from where we are to where we need to be. But our row crop producers are the ones who are suffering. Soybeans, cotton, and corn, these commodities that there's so much of and so little market. It's supply and demand. And when 52% of your market, which is China, says we're not buying any soybeans, that's why you have the low prices today. This trade deal is a game changer, and it is some very welcome good news for our farmers in Mississippi and across America.
You know, there were some cattle farmers last week that didn't seem to appreciate the message that the president put out with regard to lowering prices and kind of this situation that they were in. What did you take from that back and forth between the Cattlemen's Association, the cattlemen, and the White House?
Well, I'm one of those cattlemen. I certainly support it. In fact, we live and breathe buying American beef, genuine Mississippi beef when you can, and so that is heart and soul of what I believe and what I do. And no, I don't believe we need Argentinian beef, and I've communicated that. I think the issue that the president was trying to address was well-intentioned, and that is, let's get the beef prices down. But the fact is, it's the packers who are making all the profits. Cattlemen, we're having really good cattle prices, record-setting cattle prices, but we've also had record-setting cost of raising a calf crop. That's right.
Yeah.
And again, it's supply and demand. We have the lowest size of a beef herd in America since 1949, I think. That's because of the droughts. I put up slides last year about the droughts. So many people sold out. The answer is to rebuild our own American beef herd, and the gestation of a cow is 9 months, just like a human being. It's the same time. It's going to take a couple of years to build that herd back, but when we get there, these prices will resolve themselves. In the meantime, I appreciate the president. I have no doubt he is, he's working hard for our farmers, and I am a big supporter of President Donald Trump. But I think on that issue, we just have to focus on our domestic America supply, and we're going to get there. We're going to regulate that. The markets are going to regulate themselves.
Visiting with Andy Gipson, the Department of Agriculture and Commerce Commissioner here in the state of Mississippi. Got a couple of minutes left. There was a story that you became involved with a little bit in Lafayette County, the community of Taylor, just south of Oxford, and it had to do with construction of an asphalt plant, a small family farm across the street of it. J.W. McCurdy was the developer. The news this week, and I don't know if we got to this earlier in the week or not, was that J.W. McCurdy retracted his request for rezoning and is choosing to build the asphalt plant in the Lafayette County Industrial Park.
Right.
Is this as simple as all's well that ends well, or is there more that we need to be looking at in this situation?
Well, I get calls routinely from farmers who are having issues like this, where there's a change in the area, and they're concerned about their private property rights to continue farming. We have to recognize those private landowner rights. When you come to land use, it is the counties that make these decisions, zoning decisions. And so this was a situation where an asphalt plant was asked to be right across from a farm. And frankly, I'm hearing more and more of these types of discussions, and it's going to be, as Mississippi experienced economic growth and development, which we welcome and we want, we have to strike the right balance. And I think the right balance was struck in this situation. We're getting the asphalt plant in Lafayette County. It's going in the industrial park. The farmers are going to continue their farm. It's still zoned agricultural. But as we have more and more industrial development, we have to make sure that we strike the right balance with economic development and our food production, local food production, and I think Lafayette County got it right.
Well, the interesting thing to me about this case is this is a property rights issue and it's a zoning issue, and property owner rights is kind of a tenet of Republicans and conservatism. But sometimes it's like, yes, I am for property rights right up until the time in which my property is affected, and then I'm for my property rights, but not necessarily your property rights.
You got competing landowner property rights, and we're going to see more and more of that. And I think it's imperative that our counties are thoughtful. I know they are, and have good zoning plans and comprehensive plans to make sure we preserve our farmland and our residential communities for that matter, at the same time as we foster economic development. Striking the right balance is the key to Mississippi's future, and we can do it. We can figure this out.
Always appreciate your time.
Thank you. Look forward to Hobnob. Appreciate you, Richard.
Commissioner Andy Gipson joining us this morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Quick timeout. What do we get next? I believe coming up next we will visit with the Speaker of the House and then the Insurance Commissioner coming up as well, Mike Cheney. We're back with you after this. MRC on SuperTalk Mississippi.